And yep, that's working apparently. Great. My name is Heather Valley. I'm with Duke Learning Innovation. I'm here with Sophia Stone, also from Duke Learning Innovation. Sophia will be watching for questions in chat throughout the presentation. You're also welcome to turn on your mic and ask them verbally at the end of the presentation. The slides will be provided to everyone after the presentation, and any references such as links and so on will be linked on the appropriate slides, so you don't have to try and capture that yourself. So what is Conversations? Conversations is a new tool in Sakai that supports a question and answer functionality similar to discussion tools such as Piazza or EdDiscussion. The tool is currently in beta mode, which means it's very new and we're still working on some of the bugs. It was developed by the Duke Learning Innovation team, Duke's Creative and User Experience team, and Longsight, the hosting provider for Duke's Sakai platform. Conversations was built from the ground up based on feedback from the Duke community. Duke staff, faculty, graduate and undergraduate students provided feedback on every step of the process. Additionally, the Conversations development team consulted extensive pedagogical research focused on effective online discussions to align our decisions with evidence-based best practices. And the link here is to our report on the research that we did. And hello, we will be providing links to the recording and to the slide deck later, so you won't have missed too much. Okay, so you may already be aware of Sakai forums. So what is the difference between the two? Conversations currently supports a Q&A, question and answer functionality. It's meant to provide a central space for students to ask questions related to the course or its material, or conversely for instructors to pose questions to students. Sakai Forums is a tool that supports online threaded discussions. Forums can provide an online space to discuss course readings, debate ideas, plan group projects, and more. It's much more aimed at a back and forth among a group of people rather than posing a question and answering it. So why would you use a Q&A tool? A question and answer tool can help you share course information in a centralized location, including questions about the syllabus, homework, or core concepts. Students can also answer their peers' questions, encouraging a bit of collaboration. This can be especially helpful in a larger course, as answering questions in the tool for the whole class may be more efficient than answering individual student emails. Conversations also supports pinning important topics to the top of the left-hand topics list, which you'll see in a moment, ensuring that information that you want students to find is easy for them to find. So with that in mind, let's take a look-see at the conversation site. I'm going to stop the share for just a sec while I transition to that webpage. Okay, and we should be back into the screen share now. Does everyone see a very minimal Sakai site? Okay, great. Everyone who signed up for this webinar was also added to this course site. So after this, you're welcome to go in and play with things and test things out. You can see on the left hand here, conversations with a big purple beta button to remind everyone that it is still a bit of a work in progress. If you click on it in the left-hand menu, you can see here we have a left-hand list of questions. We have one pinned at the very top. No matter what else happens, that will always show. And then you have a list of all kinds of other questions with all kinds of little stuff involved there that we're going to go over quickly. Now, first, let's start with posting a question. You go over here to the right to create a new topic, and you give it a title. And then you give some more detail here. You can do the same sort of styling that is available in any other text editor thing on Sakai, which I know has changed a bit over the past few weeks. It should be in a final usable format. If not now, then within a day or so. And we're sorry about that. You can click down here to get access to more things. Once everything is set the way you want it to be, maybe a little emphasis there, you can go down here and make some choices. You can give it a tag, and I will show you in a moment how tags can be used to find material all around a particular subject. Let's see. Well, none of that seems to actually work for that. So we're going to have to go up and show you how to create a new topic in a few moments. You can decide who it's going to post to. Do you want everyone on the site to see it? Is this a question that you only want your instructor to see if you're a student? Or if your site has groups enabled, is it a question that you only want someone in group 1 to answer? Perhaps it's a question that's related to an assignment that is group specific, in which case you can target just the people who would be interested. Now, I'm in the site as an instructor, so if I think this is super important, I can pin this up at the top. I can make this anonymous, and I can allow anonymous answers. Now, anonymous here has a very specific meaning. Nothing is ever anonymous to an instructor. However, students, if you allow, can set themselves to be anonymous to fellow students. Some students, especially at Duke, are very afraid of looking stupid. And that can inhibit them from asking questions that they really need answered to do well in a class. And if you want them to use an online public, in the terms of public to the rest of the class, forum to ask questions, to get these sort of things answered, it can be really useful to give them a way to do so where that bit of friction, that fear of looking foolish is removed. None of these are relevant to me right now. I want anyone in the site who could answer this to tell me. So I would click publish. If I wanted to save it as a draft and publish it later, I can do that. If I decide I don't need to answer it or ask it after all, I can hit cancel. So I'm going to publish this. And it will show up here on the bottom of the list. You can see it has a little question mark surrounded by red. That means it hasn't been answered yet, or rather it hasn't gotten a canonical answer. The one above here has a little check mark. That means someone who is considered to be an instructor within the course site has answered it. So if a student looked at this and said, I need an answer to this question too, oh, hey, someone who should know the topic has answered it, that would let them narrow down where they can find information and how much they should trust it. And this being highlighted shows that this is still the question you are in. Now, over here, you see 3 little dots. Some people call those the kebab because they look like kebabs on a stick. If you click on those, you'll see as an instructor, you can edit this, you can delete it entirely, you can hide it, or you can lock it. Now, students for their own posts can also edit or delete something. And, you know, if a student makes a typo, again, we come back to the whole, I don't want to look stupid thing, or possibly the typo actually affects the meaning of whatever they posted. And we think that generally giving them the ability to edit something or change their mind and delete it is not a bad idea. I'll show you in a minute, though, how if you feel differently, you can change those privileges. As an instructor, You can hide things where perhaps a student posts something where they're giving information on a homework that some people are still working on, and you don't want that information out there. You can hide it and still have it available so you can go back to it and have a little talk with that student. You can also lock something. Sometimes conversations get a little contentious. Maybe you don't think it is dire enough that it needs to go away completely. Maybe you want to have an illustrated conversation with your students at a later date about what is or isn't appropriate conversations within a course site. In that case, you could choose to lock it and preserve what's there, but stop any more fuel being added to the fire. Those are all options that you will have. Some of that got cut off, so I'm going to go in here and edit it. Then publish. And there we go. My question is somewhat less silly than it would have been if all that material had been left out. So I mentioned settings. Let's go ahead and go in here and give you a sense of what abilities you have within this tool. Settings is right next to create new topic for instructors. Students will not see this. Just click settings. Immediately you'll see general settings. There are reactions and upvoting. I can go back to those and show you what those look like. Anonymous posting, bookmarking, pinning. If you want to freeze the site entirely and not let anyone put anything on, perhaps you're going into a midterm, want to make sure that nothing gets added that shouldn't be, you can just come in here real quick and click prevent more authoring, and you can enable community guidelines. Reactions are emojis. We have a very limited set. We're in the process of determining what might be good, what might be bad. We were concerned that things like the emoji of someone throwing up or whatever would be both popular and not terribly useful for encouraging worthwhile conversation on a course site. So that part's still a work in progress. There are a few that are available though. Upvoting is not on by default. You can arrange it so students can click to indicate that they think a post should be quote unquote upvoted. That's something from some other popular social media sites. It can be a way of getting group consensus that a particular post is good. It can also turn into a popularity contest. And some of the instructors we worked with in development said that they had serious reservations. So we put it in since some people asked for it, but it's off by default. People are welcome to enable it. There's the anonymous posting we discussed. We'll get into bookmarking in a second. I briefly covered pinning, authoring, and community guidelines. Some of you may be familiar with Discord. It's a interactive site that arose in the gaming community. And one thing that several people who were working on this tool really liked about it is that when people join a Discord setup instance, what have you, they have to agree to a certain community standard. If you wanted to enable something like this for your course site to say, this is what we expect students to act like within this conversation, especially if you cover material that can be contentious, like poli-sci courses, for example, you can turn this on. You can click edit and make any changes you want or completely revise the text that's in here. And then the first time a student comes to the site, they will have to click agree to the community guidelines. Now, those are just our general settings. Permissions, this is where it gets granular. This is where you can say, hey, I don't want students to be able to create topics. I just want them to answer my questions. Or you can say, No, I think students are posting stuff that is silly and then deleting it, and it's kind of a pain for me to see and not see. You can go in here and make whatever choices suit you best. There is also a separate teaching assistant role. At the moment, the only thing teaching assistants can't do that instructors can is see who the anonymous authors are. You can change that. As we add more functionality, for example, we don't have grading yet, but we hope to add that later on. It could be that more things will not be on by default by teaching assistants. However, as instructors, you will always have the ability to choose what you want your teaching assistant to do here. We also have the visitor and course builder role, but those aren't generally as useful. Still, if you have those in your site, you can make choices for them too. Now, the tags I went into briefly, if you already know how you want to organize your course, for example, if you want to have all the week 1 questions grouped, all of the questions about verbs or whatever is relevant to your particular topic, you can go into manage tags and just keep on adding them. So work 1, etc. And then once you have everything set, you just click add new tags. They will be made available here. You can go in and edit any of them. For example, irregular adverbs, are they really a thing? Or you can delete them. And then you'll have that list here. You can also click on add new tags when you're in the process of creating a question. However, you have to save a draft of your question, then get taken here and do this and so on. So it's still doable, but it's kind of a pain. We're trying to work out a better flow for that. Once you have all these set up, you're good to go with those. And we are capturing some statistics. So you can see number of people here. You may see your name. In fact, I kind of hope you do. And you can see who has done what. Now, most of this was done a couple of weeks ago when we first set this up for this presentation. So hasn't been a whole lot happening lately. If you click on all time, there we go. Then you can see that Michael Hudson was a little busier and so on. Oh, there's me. Good. Okay. And there's sworn I created more topics than that. We may have to look into our statistics. Anyway, so back out into the main conversations tool. Let's look at filtering a bit. If you have a fairly active class and people are posting a whole lot of questions or basically interacting using the tool a lot, or if you're posting a lot of questions for your students, you might want to sort of filter things a bit so you just see the stuff that you're looking for. So we have tag filtering, and we have whether questions have been answered, bookmarked, moderated. Moderated are things like locked or hidden, and stuff where nobody's looked at it yet. I swear I had tags on things. Okay, well, anyway, let's go in here. You can see that someone has said this is a good answer. That is an option that instructors have. If a student responds to something, you can click on this and let everyone know that you agree with that, and therefore other students can trust that particular answer to a question. Here is the emoji thing that I mentioned. This is a light bulb. We know it's too late. We're going too light. We're going to work on that. A key if it's, hey, this is a key question, or a heart if students just want to say they like this question. And you can add a quick comment to things as well. But I'm going to quickly edit this and give it a tag. There we go. Once you select a tag, you have to click add because you have the option of selecting more than one tag for a given post. You hit publish to keep all that stuff. But you can see what tags look like. And now you can see that you can select posts that have those particular tags. If I wanted to do this. Now, I'm going to select poetry. The pinned one is still showing up. If you pin something, it will always be there no matter what, because our assumption is that you're pinning things that are extremely important. However, under all questions, the one with the tag poetry is now visible. And if you go back to tag any, all of them show up. Within the stuff here, you can see the name of the person who posted things, when they posted them, and whether things have any sort of answer on them. This little speaker bubble N1 means that this has one answer. However, this is from Miss Emmeline Elisif, and she is a student in this course site, and the fact that she's answered it doesn't necessarily mean it's right. I'm going to call it a good answer, and presumably people will now see that an instructor has given that a bit of a blessing. Okay, one last thing. I'm not sure about everybody's general field. If you're in anything mathy, and this tool came out of Duke's need to find a replacement for Piazza, and that tends to have a very STEM heavy user base. People who are mathy tend to really like LaTeX. LaTeX is a way of creating these fairly complex equations without having to create it in a special program and then like take a screenshot and upload an image file, which is a pain in the neck and really not very user-friendly for people who use things like screen readers. So instead, you can go here, click on the little down arrow, and find this little sigma sign. Click on that, and you can write your LaTeX in here if you happen to know that code. I am a former English major and English teacher. I do not know LaTeX. However, they give you a sample in here. I can remove what I think is a square sign, and it gives you a preview here of what you're going to be doing. There's a link documentation, and you can click OK, and it inserts it in here. Now, Sakai has had the ability to do LaTeX. People didn't necessarily know because you have to go in and into the Manage Tools area of Site Info and select MathJax, which enables Sakai's LaTeX functionality. But this is an easier way to do it. Before you had to do $$, type in your code, and then hit publish and hope you got it right. And if you didn't, then you had to go and edit and revise it and publish again. It was a whole thing. Now it is less of a thing. And that is there for people's use. Now, I think the last thing I need to go into is bookmarking. Instructors are the only ones who can pin. However, students have asked for the ability to curate what they consider important as well. So both students and instructors can go into a question and click bookmark. You can see that a little star appeared. You can unbookmark once it no longer serves your needs. And then you can go under filter to bookmarked, and only the bookmarked stuff shows up. So yeah, for example, you are a student who has bookmarked the questions and answers that you think are really relevant to studying for the next quiz. You can click bookmarked, go through and review them before the quiz, After the quiz is over, if you don't think you'll need them anymore, you can go through and unbook all of them and start bookmarking stuff that will be important for the next thing you'll be studying for. So let's see, those are the main things I want to cover here. Do people have questions that they would like me to cover at this point? Or if you'd like, we can wait until I go through a few more things.
Heather, we have a few questions that came through in chat, and we've got a small group, so I think everyone could probably chime in a bit afterwards. I did add the documentation, the help documentation. One question from Brenda was, does pinning only apply to your personal view, or is it something that an instructor can do to make it show up pinned for all students? So pinning highlights a response, for all of the students, but I didn't know if you wanted to go into a bit more detail.
Yeah, pinning is how the instructor puts something at the very top of the list for everybody in the class, students, TAs, anyone who looks at it. Bookmarking is something that is individual for each user. Instructors can bookmark as well. So if you, for whatever reason, want to perhaps bookmark all of one particular student's posts or posts that where students have answered because they're doing something really well or they're doing something really questionable, you can do that. And no one else will see that you have it bookmarked. Pinned is for everybody. Okay.
So we had a question from Melissa. Can we ask for the conversations beta for project sites, or is it just for course sites?
So far, we've just been trying it in course sites. I believe we can add it to project sites. We haven't tested it as much there, but project and course sites in many ways are very similar. It's just a question of how the rosters are handled. And I've added everyone here one at a time. I mean, no one's on a roster for this course site, so that shouldn't be an issue. We're going to have a way that you can request this to be added to pretty much any site. There's a form that you can fill out. I believe you just put the site URL in, and we'd love to hear about your experiences with it on a project site. Okay.
So that's all I saw. Wait, there's another one. Is there another question? Let me take a look. Oh, so can they ask, did you clarify if they could ask for it on their project sites now?
Yes.
Okay. And then Linda has a question. Is the forum better for discussions of difficult topics and conversations better for factual information about the course, or are they about the same for long virtual discussions?
We're envisioning conversations at this moment as being more of a question and answer sort of thing, where either an instructor or a student will post a question and it may have multiple people trying to answer it, especially if it's the instructor saying, everybody give me your best answer for this. But it's not really a lot of back and forth. For example, an instructor can post a question, each student will answer it, and they do have the ability to comment, but it's not really designed for students to get into back and forth about, well, I think my answer is right because of Y. Oh no, your answer is okay, but mine is better because of Z and such. That is still something that we think forums would be better for. We are hoping to add more of a threaded discussion functionality either this spring or over the next summer. This is something that we're going to be working on all fall and hoping to get feedback from initial users.
Oh, we have another question. What is the Ed Discussions feature pros and cons versus conversations?
Well, the big thing that Ed Discussions has going for it is that it is out of beta. It has been used for a couple of years now. We started building conversations 4 months ago. We've worked really hard on it, gotten a lot of good feedback from an advisory group of faculty. We think it is a very good beta product, but it is a beta product. Conversations, on the other hand, a discussion is something where, while it will show up in your left-hand menu, when someone clicks on it, they get taken to another site. And within that other site, you are responsible for syncing the roster. If you get a late student coming in to your course in general, then you have to remember, oh yeah, I have to add them to ed discussion. It isn't automatic when they get added to your course site. Ed discussion does have some nice features as far as code snippets and such. While we do have LaTeX, which I just showed you, we don't have a lot of things where you can add from a list of, I think it's 12 different types of code for sharing among people, something that our CS people are probably going to enjoy in a discussion if they choose to use it. But this is something that is fully conversations is something that is fully integrated into Sakai. Any student who is in your Sakai site would be in your conversations tool as well. And we think that it has a bit of control over granular permissions and what students can or can't do in the hands of instructors, where discussions has already made some of those decisions for you. In many cases, they made very good decisions, I think. In other cases, you may wish they'd made different choices. Here, there's a solid chance that it's a choice you're going to be able to make. Yes, I did write a blog on the discussions a while back, but you're welcome to check that out. Okay, any other questions at this point? Great, then let's see, one more. I believe the questions stay in conversations. They don't leave when the person leaves. However, if you have the habit of importing content from previous semester sites to your next semester site, you may get the conversation tool. We're still working actually on how that's going to look, since it's currently something we have to install. All of the stuff that students or you put in from the previous semester is not likely to come over. Okay, well, I'm going to stop sharing this for a moment and go back to the main presentation. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, all of these slides that have links will be made available at the end of the presentation today. And everyone will be able to go through and click on anything that they find useful, such as join the beta. If you are interested in adding this to your site, you are welcome to, or all of your sites if you like. We have some people who added it to all of their classes, and we're really looking forward to getting feedback from them. You are welcome to click join the beta, and it'll ask for your name, I believe the URL of the course site you want it in, and one of my coworkers will get that set right up for you. So if you want to learn more about using conversations, we put up help documentation. It's linked in the Sakai Conversations Guide. It gives a good overview of most of the functionality that I've discussed, as well as probably a few things that I've forgotten. I think I hit everything though. So what if this tool isn't quite what you need? A beta tool isn't for everybody. I mean, beta means that we're still finding quirks and addressing them. And we're working on adding further functionality for spring. So if you have looked at this and thought, it's interesting, but I don't think it's quite right for me at this point, we hope you'll check back in 2022 to see if then it might be a tool that you'd like to add to your site. Until then, we're not getting rid of the forums tool. It's still there. And we also have ed discussions, which we covered briefly just a minute ago, which also supports Piazza-like Q&A functionality. If you look at this either from this brief overview, or if you go into the site and play around with it, and you see a feature or you think of a feature that's not currently available that you'd like to see, we have a form set up, and you are welcome to say, this is great, but it totally needs this thing. We would love to hear what that thing is, because we will do our best to add it if we can. We are, as we work on this, we're going to be continuing to work on this all fall. As I mentioned before, we've had a group of faculty advisors who worked with us over the summer on getting it to this point. And we're certainly hoping that most, if not all of them, will stick around for the fall. But we are hoping that we can sort of broaden our net of faculty who might be willing to meet with us maybe once a week for an hour to look over new things, to maybe test some things out. If you're interested in joining our faculty advisory group and help direct the direction of how this tool is going to be developed in the future, my email is in the presenter notes of this slide deck, and I hope you will get in touch with us. So if you would like to try Conversations before you add it to your course site, or to decide if you want to add it to your course site, I've added you to the site that I used to use to demonstrate things, and you are welcome to go in there and post, play with tags, play with sorting, play with the permissions a bit if you like. Don't do too much to the instructor permissions, but if you would like me to change you from an instructor, which is what you are right now in there, to a student to get a sense of the student experience, just let me know and I'll be happy to do so. And even if you think that, yeah, this isn't for me this semester, I do hope that if you have time, you'll take a minute to go there and just let us know what you think about the tool. Okay, are there any further questions?
I don't see any new questions. Heather, did you talk about the grading of these? The conversations you can't send those to a grade book like you can Sakai forums
yet.
Yeah.
Grading is top of our list of things that we want to get in for spring 22. Because we know that it can be hard to get students to do things if there isn't a grade attached. And while you can sit there, like I think in Piazza, you had to say, okay, yeah, that's worthy of 2 points or whatever, and then hand put it into your grade book. That's a pain. Why even have computers if you have to do that? So we are going to work on that functionality probably next. Unless we find huge bugs, in which case we'll work on getting those fixed. But we're hoping that's not going to be the case. I'm sorry, Linda, I can't hear you.
Okay, I have a question related to what I had put in the chat. So I guess have to really decide what conversation will be for and what forums will be for, and let the students know, because they don't like to often check many sites. You know, I use forums a lot. I like a lot of back and forth on topics about films and so on. So I guess I'd have to really differentiate very clearly. Is that correct? Between conversations and forums?
Yes. Some instructors say for similar tools to this, Piazza, for example, instead of sending me an email, go to this tool and put your question there.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So you could say it is for that sort of thing.
Okay.
Can we rename it? We can certainly talk about that. We had a bit of a go around and talk to a branding person and so on about conversations, and that's what stuck, but we're certainly not married to it.
No, I mean, in our own individual courses, can we rename?
That is a good question. I am going to go into the course site and check, because honestly, I have not tried. Okay, I'm going to go and do site info and tool order, conversations. You do have the option to edit the tool title. So presumably you can. We haven't really tested that much though, so I don't know what would happen. Presumably, it would just have a new name.
I think for languages, it makes a lot of sense. And also for concerns of really differentiating the functionality if you have both. So
In the way distant future, we would love to incorporate all of the forum functionality into this tool, in which case conversations will make a lot more sense. But we were initially going to try and do all of that over the summer, and then we realized that 4 months was not enough time to get that done right. So it has been spread out a bit more.
So why did you choose conversations as the topic? I am pondering that because in a way it is Q&A. It's not really a conversation. A little confused.
Well, we did polling in the group that was developing it and our instructors, and conversations was the one that got the most upvotes, basically, of the names that weren't already a branded product that would sue us for trying to use it. There are an amazing number of tools out there that in some way involve enabling a communication. And a lot of them have really gotten the good names. Some of the names that were suggested were like Roundtable. I was into that. Other people were like, not everyone's going to go see the Green Knight in the theaters, Heather. You need to pull that back a bit. So again, we are open to other naming things if you think that is really necessary for the tool to be effective. Forums is not going to go away in the near future. It is going to be renamed, though, probably, if not the next upgrades and the following one. They're talking about renaming it Discussions. That's a larger Sakai community of the 200 schools or whoever's using it choice that they've made. But next spring, it's going to be there unless we can get every bit of functionality from what's currently forums into this tool. We're not going to get rid of forums because we know a lot of people use it pretty heavily.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments or concerns?
It's interesting. I think it's quite useful, actually.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, if you would like to try it, we'd love to find out if it's useful in your particular context. You do film?
I do film and history. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah, we had a preponderance of STEM people, computer science and such in the advisory group because it was mostly people who said, Piazza's going away. Oh my goodness, we have to get something new. Let us help you, who jumped on volunteering for that, which is very useful. I think we got a lot of stuff they needed in, especially the latex, but it does mean it has a bit of a slant. So we're really hoping to get more humanities and, well, non-STEM people to have a say as well. Because, it's a big university. If we're going to have a tool available, we want to have a fairly broad application. Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, I'm going to put, de nada. I'm going to share a link to the slide deck here in chat. Everyone's welcome to capture that. I'm going to be sending out an email with the link to the recording, and I'll try and remember to add a link to the slide deck as well once the recording is available. And the slide deck should have links to everything you might need if you want to try this just on the test site or in your courses.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks everyone for coming today.
Thank you.
If this isn't for you, then we hope one of the other options will work out. But if it is for you, we'd love to hear how it works for you.
Okay.
Well, we have 10 minutes left, but if no one has any further questions, then that's 10 minutes you can have getting ready for the new semester. So best of luck with fall, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.